It's summertime and the fishing is red hot. Offshore, red snappers and mahi. Nearshore, ling and kingfish. And inshore, redfish and trout. Whatever is your favorite, know that now is the time to go. So get your gear ready for the weekend. This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Thanks for joining us back on another week of the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and we are excited to bring you this weekend's round of reports because I have a feeling that many of y'all will be out there with your dad, kids, or grandpas for Father's Day. But Rick, I know you were out on the water somewhere special this past weekend with your kids. So
you know, Brie, in the Murphy household, we love to go fishing. It was my birthday last week, so we decided to go to San Salvador in the Bahamas.
Aww.
Ridge and I, Kathy, and Colin. And Kathy hooks into this monster blue marlin. 500-pounder, 2.5-hour fight on 50 stand-up tackle. We leadered the fish at that point right there. What an amazing fish. Irene, it really kicked her butt. It kicked all our butts. Fish never jump. Here's a great release shot of the two boys and her, and obviously somebody had to take the picture.
Obviously.
But wow, right? 20 minutes before she hooked that marlin, our little Colin hooks this monster mako shark.
What?
And catches this 275-pound mako. Fish never jumped. We thought it was a marlin for a little while. And what was really, really cool is that until we leadered the fish 30 feet away, did we know that we had this big mako on.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Good for you guys. Murphy's kicking booty.
You know, one thing also, you know, last week we had the clear gold bass assassin.
Are you looking at my...
And I noticed that she has a new color, clear
I do.
gold.
Lil
She
boss.
liked it too.
I do
So
too.
we're gonna call you the boss.
I do. Well, I'm excited for you guys. Murphy's, you know.
We love
Killing
fishing.
it down there. Good job, Kathy. All right, someone else who was out of town. Let's welcome Dave Ferrell back to the show. Who's over at the CCA Workbench. Dave, did you have a trip like that?
It wasn't that good. I mean,
No?
you know, big makos and whatnot. But I did see a lot of cool stuff. We went to Yellowstone National Park and had all the kids in the car for hours and hours and hours.
We're gonna see some pictures when we get to the rigs and techniques about that.
That's being
Brie.
a father, right? All right, let's start this Father's Day weekend show off in the Projects Smokehouse Lower Fresh region, where Matt Reed is going to give us a tasty report for your weekend on Lake Amistad, Falcon, Choke Canyon, or Belton. Let's get to it, Matt.
You ready to get after it? Well, we have a lot of miles to cover this week, so we'll start out talking about the largemouth bass. Lake Amistad. Actually, the water started to come up a little bit at Amistad. We had a lot of rain, and it stopped falling and started to rise a little bit. We also had a brief cool spell the last few days right after some major heat we've had. So that's really triggered a good shallow bite. You can catch them throwing a variety of top waters. Also biting swim jigs, swim baits on belly-weighted hooks. And another way to catch big numbers of fish is on a Ned rig or a drop shot. Get out the light line and have some fun. The best way to catch a big one right now is on a Texas rig worm, a big worm on the outside edge of the hydrilla. Numbers are really good, but big ones are scarce, but it can happen in any cast. Moving on over to Choke Canyon. Early morning before sunrise on cloudy days, you can catch them really well right now on a buzzbait or a pop-R over the grass, the hydrilla that's not topped out. They're also biting a weedless rig swim bait, paddletail swim bait in shad colors over that same grass that's just under the water. Once the sun gets out, you need to get a big weight, braided line, and a creature bait, and punch it through that hydrilla that started to mat out. The lake has a lot of matted grass on it right now, and that's the best way to get to those fish that are under it. As the summer progresses, there'll be much more of that with many more fish under it. There is a lake that don't have much grass. Get your Carolina rig or deep diving crankbait. Get out on those main lake points and in that 10 to 20 foot range and find you a big one that way. Moving up a little bit towards Central Texas, let's go talk about Lake Belton a little bit. Water's really high at Belton still from all the rain we've had. A lot of flooded areas. You want to look at those for shad in those flooded areas, and there's a really good frog bite shallow if you can find those shad around that cover. When you want to move out a little bit, fish are real tight to the cover, to the trees that are underwater. Get you a big worm or Carolina rig brush hog, and catch them in that 15 to 20 foot water real tight to the cover. Another thing you want to look for, the bluegill are spawning in the summer. Check out those bluegill beds shallow. There'll be a lot of bass hanging around them trying to get them a free meal. Lake Travis in the Austin area, still cranking them out. Use a Texas rig Cinco style worm and watermelon red, or throw you a walking topwater bait over the submerged trees in the back of pockets off the main lake or in the creeks. It's a great way to catch you a big one there. Lake Somerville is actually still closed. It's only releasing 1 inch a day because they've got spillway trouble. It's too high. No ramps are open, so don't go to Somerville. Fayette County is fishing very well. Nearly all the fish are deep. Get out in that 17 to 30 foot of water on the main lake points and drop-offs with a Carolina rig, drop shot, Tokyo rig, or football jig. Lots of big schools out there. Locate them on your electronics. You'll want to find the ones that are grouped up close to the bottom. Get after them. You can catch a whole bunch of them there right now. Falcon, it's fishing really well, even in the extreme heat we've had. Concentrate on the main lake rock. Brush piles have also been giving up some big ones, man-made brush piles. Numbers and size have both been really good. Texas rig soft plastics and Carolina rigs have been doing the most damage. Got a picture of Lyle, a customer of mine last week, with a big old Falcon special. Always love those bug-eyed bass.
That's a good way to describe them, Matt. Tell us about the white bass, bub.
White bass, they've kind of just, certain areas they've taken over. There's so many of them. Early in the mornings at Falcon, they're schooling on the shallow rock point. You can literally catch one or two on every cast if you want to. Get you a crankbait or a spoon or any type of shad imitation, and you can catch a limit of them in a hurry. And it's a great thing to do for a kid or anybody to just have fun catching them. Later in the day, they move out on the same points, that 10 to 15 foot range, and slabs or something that'll get down to them. It's the best way to catch those. And that picture, that just shows you how thick they are. Customer of mine last week, he had the crankbait had one on both hooks. So I mean, that happens fairly often.
All right, man, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'd love to do that sometime with you, bud. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower fresh region. He says Lake Amistad largemouth bass are biting extremely well, and you can catch big numbers with an occasional good one. Fish topwaters and swim baits early and around the shallow hydrilla, and then Texas rig big worms on the outside edge of the hydrilla later in the day.
That was a BOGO special right there.
You're absolutely right.
All right, we're all about the dads on the show today, and Prostex is teaming up with the Texas Insider Fishing Report on a fantastic giveaway. Sign up below, and one lucky winner will receive a Hooked On Prostex Grand Slam package valued at $120 to be received just after Father's Day. Shop the online catalog for package details. The winner will be randomly selected and announced on our Facebook page Monday, June 17th at 10 a.m. Central Time. The winner will also be announced here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. I mean, what a great gift for Dad, even a day late.
Man, are you kidding?
okay.
It's not a day late. That allows Father's Day to continue to roll through the grill and through the meat.
Through the meat. We'll have meat all week. All right,
it.
Staying with the Matt theme, let's go see what Matt Loescher in the Star-Tron Middle Fresh region has to say about this weekend on Sam Rayburn, Richland Chambers, and Toledo Bend. Ready for a busy Father's Day weekend, Matt?
We are, Brie. We've actually got to enjoy some pretty nice weather the past few days. Maybe that'll hold on a little bit for Father's Day, but it doesn't look like it. Probably going to get back to the heat. But the good thing is the lakes are producing a lot of fish. The bite's pretty good. Crappie are quickly becoming the most targeted species this month. While other species haven't been quite as active this week, the crappie have really come on strong, especially at Toledo Bend. The bite does change a little bit every day, but overall it's been good. The water level at Toledo Bend is slowly starting to fall a little bit, and that helps kind of gang them up on that deep cover. The cover of choice for these fish is usually going to be standing timber and about 15 to 25 foot of water. Live minnows are often the ticket for catching the most numbers, day in, day out. Especially if you have a large group of people on the boat. Put a whole school of minnows down there, you're going to catch a bunch of them. But if you don't have a large group of people on the boat, it's a ton of fun to sit back away from a spot and cast a Panfish Assassin Pro Tiny Shad out there to catch them on that jig instead. That's just a really fun bite. The water's cleared up a lot lately, so monkey milk is a really good choice as far as the color of the jig. I like to put it on a plain jig head. 16th or 32nd ounce is usually the go-to, depending on what the wind's doing. I got a photo here for you to kind of exemplify some of what we've been catching. We've had some really good catches lately of high numbers and some big slabs. If you'd like to get in on some of that action, just give us a call at Living the Dream Guide Service. We've got a lot of summertime left, and the bite's going to be looking like it's going to be really good throughout the summer this year.
I know,
Rick
Rick
a little
does.
bit behind.
Bree wants to know which number should she call. All right.
Just call me. We'll get it taken care of.
All right, boss. Tell us about some bass fishing.
All right. So over at Sam Rayburn, the bass are still plentiful. Lots of bites to be had, but big ones are kind of tough to come by right now. Most people are still catching their fish shallow around bushes, and there's a ton of fish to be caught there, flipping creature baits like a bass assassin skunk bait or a HPC crawl on just a heavy cover Texas rig punching setup. That's been really good for ripping them out of that thick stuff when it's calm, especially if the sun's shining and they get deep in those bushes. But if the wind blows or the clouds kind of roll in on you, those fish will probably still be shallow, but they kind of roam away from that heavy stuff, and they kind of get outside of the bushes a little bit. That's when moving baits like a frog or a swim bait really produce well. So catching them at Rayburn right now is really just a matter of picking which presentation is best for the conditions. And if you catch enough of those fish, you might stumble into one of those East Texas giants. So just weed through them and catch as many as you can. And then up on Richland Chambers, they're still catching a lot of bass as well. According to Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty Guide Service, some new patterns have begun to develop this week. Things are kind of changing up. The water temperature is reaching as high as 84, and deeper structure bite is beginning to take off. He says that a Carolina rig and a football jig are working well in areas with rocky bottom and about 5 to 15 foot of water. Early in the morning, top water bite is still pretty fair, and a frog biting on the lily pads is producing some bass. On the sunny days, square bill crankbaits and bladed jigs are working around shady docks. So once again, just kind of fish the conditions that you're given during the day, but lots of fish to be caught. And then down at Toledo Bend, the bass bites slowed down a bit because we kind of had the current has slowed down a lot from what they were pulling with the lake coming down. But they're still using flat points in 10 to 20 foot to feed on shad. And something really awesome happened this week on Toledo Bend. The Toledo Bend Lake Association, released 55,000 fingerling bass into different parts of the reservoir. All the members of the association came and got fingerling bass, and we distributed them all over the lake. That's a very important part of keeping the fishery great for many years to come, so I'm really excited to have been a part of that. You guys support that TBLA any way you can. It's a great organization. They really work hard to keep the fishery great for many years to come. Always practice catch and release as much as you can so those little babies can grow up to be lunkers someday. Lastly, I'm going to jump from the bass over to the fish that have whiskers. I'm going to talk about the catfish for a minute. They're really munching well right now. They're just biting like crazy. This is a fantastic time to go catch a cooler full of those on Toledo Bend. If you're looking to, put some in the freezer or have a fish fry, they're beginning to feed really heavily in that 15 to 25 foot of water around the shad. So if you can just find those shad balls, get underneath them. I've been getting into schools of those out on the main lake points, just fishing a minnow on or near the bottom. You can catch a ton of them this week. So if you want to bring some kids or some adults that act like kids maybe, catch a bunch of good eating fish, this is the best time to do it.
Well, thank you so much. Great report from the Star Trine Middle Fresh region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at those hot spots that Matt says we should do. He says crappie are biting on Toledo Bend and 15 to 25 feet on a minnow. And then largemouth bass are feeding in the bushes at Sam Rayburn and on the rocky bottom areas of Richland Chambers. Now, don't forget the catfish at Toledo Bend are on the main lake points in 15 to 25 feet of water. Man, it's got it going on.
Yes, it does. All right, if you're fishing, chilling, and grilling this weekend in the Upper Coast region, then stay put. We're coming to you next. And then we're seeing what info Dave has for us at the CCA Workbench for rigs and techniques. You got a lot going on over there, Dave.
Yep, we're going little, and we're going to go try to catch some crappie because they're delicious.
Ooh,
they are. Little. This is my favorite crappie rig right there.
Ooh la la. We'll be checking that out when we come back.
Yes, we will.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin. Join the club. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. and CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation. Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore. Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
If you're not a member of Coastal Conservation Association, you need to be. CCA fights on a national and state level for our fishing rights so that our children and grandchildren will have fish to catch today and in the future. CCA, through their habitat programs, create oyster and artificial reefs, as well as many other habitat programs. CCA also each year releases millions of trout, redfish, and flounder, so join myself, Brie, and Dave and become a member of CCA now. Speaking of a member of CCA, Dave is a life member
Yes,
as well
I am.
as
Thanks to
Brie.
you, pal.
And I got to tell you, I'm really proud of the fact that we're here at the CCA workbench. We're getting ready to talk about rigs and techniques for crappie, so let's go at it.
Well, you know, crappie are one of the top game fish in Texas to catch, and a couple reasons. You know, they get into big schools, so you can catch a bunch of them when you find them. They're usually really ready to eat. You know, sometimes they can be a little skittish, but if you bring enough stuff, you can probably figure out what they're eating at the time. And they're just really good to eat when you do catch them. You know, when you get a bunch of them, you can feed a lot of people. So they're, you know, very, very targeted fish. You know, there's two types that live in Texas. We got the white crappie and the black crappie. The white crappie is completely all over the state, but the black crappie is mostly in East Texas and some of that clear tannic, more water. But you can tell the difference between them. A white crappie has kind of like bars on them. The splotches form into bars, and the black crappie he's got black splotches and specks on him. But they'll both blacken out during the spawn, so you know it's kind of hard to tell just by looking at them. You got to look at their spines, their dorsal spines and whatnot, to really figure them out. But to go about catching them, like the last fellow was up there was talking about, to use a live minnow is probably the best way to catch them. And if you know, you can buy a rig already made up, like one of these that are made to keep the minnows from swimming into the main line. They have these little keepers on them that keep the bait swimming away from the main line a little bit. And what they'll do is you can get put a couple of live minnows on there, and you can sort of troll it around with your electric trolling motor or drift. But if you're using an electric trolling motor, there's a little tip, you know, that they say is you don't want to keep these things, you don't want them straight up and down. You don't want to be going so slow that the minnow can swim back into the line. Right. And you don't want it to be going so fast that it blows up, you know, and gets out of the way. You want it to be about a 15-degree angle so that everything stays apart from each other and the fish still have a good shot at getting them.
I would imagine on a windy day you don't have to troll at all. You probably
Correct. You just put them out and drift. If you've got it's better to have a little bit of a windy day than flat calm, and that's pretty much with any fishing. But to locate these fish, most of the time in the spring, right now, is at the tail end of the spawn, they're probably starting to move out. It's getting hot. They're already starting to move out into the deep. But between mid-February to up until mid-March, the water gets 60 degrees. They start to look to spawn. They start to get inshore, just like the brim do. They nest just like they'll make little nests in that water in 6 feet of water all the way up to 1 foot of water. And they'll go into the backs of coves or any place where there's some deep brush and where they can fan out and make a nest, just like a brim does. And they'll do that in this springtime. But once the summer comes and it starts to heat up, they'll go out deep. and they'll be in that standing timber, 15 to 20 feet of water over deep brush piles, deep streams, stream beds that have come and gone in the past and are now deep. And what you need to do is you need to have a really good depth finder. These days, the Garmin with the side scan and the down scan, once you find them, that's always been the hardest part, because they will move around and they'll stage up in different areas, a lot of times around bridges, docks and whatnot. You have to really look for them sometimes, but once you find them, you can start targeting them. And first off, you're going to start with those live minnows. If you don't have live minnows, then you want to use jigs. I showed you this jig here. This is my favorite jig. This is a horsehead jig, which if you take a really good look at it, you can see why it's called that. It's got a little down drop on it, and it looks like a horse's head. And this one's called a road runner because it's got that little spinner on it. But I put the Crappie Dapper from Bass Assassin on there, and that's my favorite deal. And I'll troll this around, and I'll tell you,
that doesn't look like a minnow.
It looks exactly like a minnow, and I almost catch as many bass on it as I do crappie. They actually, when I'm trying to catch crappie, the bass become a pain in the butt because I'm trying to catch them. And here's another Bass Assassin as well.
This is the pan.
This is the panfish, the Pan Assassin. So both of those jigs work. And when you get located over the top of those fish, they'll usually be, in the summertime, they'll usually be over a thermocline. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to present the baits above the school. You don't want to, it's not like a bass who sometimes will go down and pick stuff off the bottom. Usually all those crappie, they're going to eat the stuff that's right at them or that's up in the, up higher in the water column, so that they will rise up to it. And any of these little jigs, or the marabou jig especially, the crappie jigs for the marabou jig, the little fluffy ones, they work really great.
So tell us about your vacation. We got a few pictures here of you.
Okay, yeah. Me and my son, we were in Wyoming at Jackson Hole, and we went fishing for cutthroat trout. My son caught all the great big ones there. He's a big Florida Gator and very proud of it, and the band there. But it was beautiful country. You can see in the background there. We just had some great fishing. That guide there was really good fellow. His name was Glenn.
He was patient.
He spent a lot of time with my son and really helped him out, and we had a blast.
I can tell by who caught the fish, right?
He caught all the big ones,
awesome, you guys. Look at the dads cashing in a weekend before Father's Day. All right, the Fish Bites Upper Coast region is now on the hook, and Captain Carl Weston is giving you the inshore and offshore report, sure to put a smile on Dad's face this weekend. Hey, Carl.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Pretty darn good. We're ready.
All right. Well, let's talk about some redfish. The redfish have been good on the north shoreline of West Bay up in the grass, casting paddle tail, soft plastics, weedless spoons, or small topwaters in the sand pockets in the grass. They've been producing good stringers of redfish. But you can either choose to drift this in a shallow water skiff or hop out and wade. When wading, just watch out for the stingrays because they're in pretty thick in the grass right now. And these redfish use these sand pockets as ambush points. Hiding in this grass, swimming out to feed on bait that swims by. And you never know, you might run across a really big trout up there too. So, and we have a photo here of Mr. Jeff with 3 nice redfish from last week in that area.
That looks pretty dang good right there, partner.
I'll take it.
All right, what else is happening inshore?
Well, and the trout bite is still strong. They've been really thick on the reefs in East Bay. And this will be a pattern that will stay pretty consistent throughout the rest of the summer. Being that this is one of the most productive ways to catch trout in the entire Galveston Bay complex. East Bay is full of oyster reefs, and all of them are putting up really good catches. Drifting over the reefs, throwing soft plastic. Paddle tails with an 1/8 ounce jig head is best. Chartreuse colors have been very good when the water is clean. Plum colors have been good whenever the water is dirty. And I have no picture of trout this week.
All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about what you like to do offshore, Carl. What you got?
Well, kingfish this week, with all the rain and fresh water dumping into the Gulf over the last couple of weeks, the kingfish bite has been a little slow. I believe this has been caused by the low salinity and the dirty water inshore. But as of just this weekend, in certain areas, the bite has really started to pick up. You'll have to go out a little further offshore than normal because this dirty water has consistently been seen out as far as 60 miles offshore. But with saying that, there was some really nice kingfish caught in some tournaments up to 50 pounds this past weekend. Your best method is still catching kingfish drifting or slow trolling with live hardtails, dead sardines or cigar minnows over bottom structure, and artificial reefs using a kingfish rig with wire leader. And here we have a gentleman, Dave Lawley, who caught a nice 47-pound king with us on Sunday.
Wow.
Man, that is a nice one. All right. What else you got going on offshore, bub?
Well, we got wahoo, believe it or not. It's early June, and there's still some really nice wahoo around. Last weekend, we saw a 90-pound and a 70-pound wahoo caught over some bottom structure rock piles. We've also been picking up some smaller wahoo on the current breaks and weed lines. Trolling a skirted ballyhoo rig along the current breaks has been producing some really nice fish. We also have been catching some wahoo while kingfish and just drifting dead cigar minnows over that same bottom structure and rock piles. And once again, you're going to have to go out a little farther than normal to find the cleaner water. But the fish are there, when you do. And we've also been picking up some really nice ling and a lot of chicken dolphin, along these same weed lines, guys. And we got a picture here of Miss Jennifer from this weekend in a tournament with a nice wahoo.
Man, that is a nice one. Well, hopefully they did well in the tournament, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He says inshore, redfish on the north shoreline of West Bay chasing paddle-tail soft plastic, weedless spoons, or small top waters. And then offshore, kingfish drifting or slow trolling with live hardtails, dead sardines, and cigar minnows over bottom structure and artificial reefs using kingfish rigs with a wire leader.
Man, the Upper Coast is on fire.
Yeah, man.
Kingfish.
They got it all
They
going
got it going
on.
on. All right, we're going to keep reeling things in here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. And when we return, we're diving into the Yeti Upper Fresh and Garmin Lower Coast regions. So stay hooked. And remember to catch up with our crew and everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Project Smokehouse, a link above.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle. When it comes to sailfishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Today's Power Pole Tip of the Week is about the switches that are gonna come in the box with your power poles. Now understand, guys, if you buy 2 power poles, you're gonna have 4 switches. There's no need to program all 4 of those switches. Just pick your favorite switch. Like in my case, I really love the multifunction switch. I can program this to run all the poles on my boat. So there's no need to use all 4 switches. Now, the reason why I like the multifunction switch is simply because I can isolate the individual poles. I can make one go up while the other one stays down. And while I'm out drift fishing with paddles, this seems to work very well. I can manipulate the angle of the boat. The other thing that I do is sometimes I'll pick up one pole, pivot the boat using the trolling motor, get the angle that I like going down the shoreline, and then I can pick up the secondary pole. So keep in mind that you don't need all the switches, and use your multifunction switch to manipulate the boat the way you want. And that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week.
So many options.
You know what I've been doing lately, Brie, with the power poles, is if I'm gonna go that way, and I know that if I lift the power poles both, the wind's gonna blow me. It's been so windy. So what I've been doing is lifting the one power pole and leaving the other down until I get the angle I want. Using the multi-function switch, then I can push it and now go exactly when I want to go and not lose ground because I didn't lift up both power poles. I only lifted one to rotate, you know?
Yeah.
Works good.
Works very good. You
Try
got to figure it out,
guys.
Rick.
Lots of practice.
Lots of practice. Lake Tawakoni and Fork are looking pretty good for the Father's Day weekend bite, so start taking notes from Johnny Geis and you'll be sure to impress Pops. Go, Johnny, go.
Hey, Rick. Hey, Rick, those are great tips on that power pole, man. I learned something there. Good job.
All right, we got to make sure we get you some for your new boat you got coming, right?
Ooh.
Yes, sir. Hey, let's talk about some Lake Fork channel catfish. Man, they're biting so good down here. They're real good in the shallow holes and on baited holes right now. I got a guide buddy, old Stubby Stubblefield, been putting his clients on limits of fat catfish. And usually most time the anglers this time of year targeting fish in shallows since they're kind of spawning around here in June. And many anglers still catching the catfish close to shore, but that bite's about slowing up now, and they'll finish up their spawn pretty quick. So bite's been good, and fishing cats under cork rig's a lot of fun. You just put a cork on about a foot or two above your hook, and bait out with your favorite catfish bait, and you're ready to start catching them. Fish shallow next to vegetation for best results, and finding some around the lily pads too. Now, if you really want to catch a bunch of these tasty channel cats, pick up a bag or two of cattle cubes, we call them range cubes here, and pour them out in about 20 to 30 foot where you can tie your boat off to nearby trucks or stumps and return in a day or so, and you better be ready for some fast action. Your baited hole will be swarming with fat catfish gorging on those cattle cubes. And old Stubby, he makes his very own Stubby's Catfish Cheese Bait, which he makes and sells locally and online. And just make a small dough ball around a number 4 treble hook, let it drop straight down to your bait pile, and it's game on. So be ready for a quick bite. Once that bait reaches the bottom, you got one. Daily limit on catfish in Texas is 25 a person. They usually average about 2 pounds, so you can load the boat. Catfish are easy to clean using an electric knife, and they're great eating, either fried or baked. Catfish are a lot of fun for kids, so be sure to get them into action also. Stubby also guides for crappie. Just purchased a new Garmin with live scope. He'll be catching even more bigger catfish and crappie using the new Garmin. Well, over at Lake Tawakoni, man, those stripers, hybrids, and sand bass, guide Matt Cartwright, they're on fire over there. They're reporting limits of all 3 striped bass species almost daily. That action's been excellent this spring throughout early summer on Tawakoni. It continues to be the place to fish if you're looking to catch a boatload of fish. He reports that many mornings the action's so fast that they limit out early, and then they got to throw the rest back till about noon and go clean fish. They're located on the ledges about 15 to 18 feet. He's finding the schools by using a side scan on his electronics, and on the weekends, though, it can get a little bit crowded over on Tawakoni, and the guide boats, man, they're a magnet for a lot of fishermen. So be sure if you decide to pull up on a bunch of boats that are catching fish, be sure to kill your motor far back so you're not to spook the school, and carefully use the trolling motor to join in on the action. Best baits have been small swim baits and slabs, and sometimes he's using live shad. And the hybrids are hard fighters, and they can average 8 to 10 pounds, so be sure to have at least 15-pound line if you're going to catch those fish. Matt shared a couple pictures from trips this week, and as you can see from those 2 pictures, they got some good quality fish biting over there.
Man, those are some nice fish. How much does that fish weigh, that the one single fish picture?
Lady had one, that was about 10, 11 pounds.
That's a nice fish.
I don't think they actually weigh them. They're catching some mediums and fast action, but that's a good catching there.
That's a good looking fish.
Yeah, so if you want to catch non-stop big fish action, call on Matt Cartwright. Look him up on Tawakoni and book a trip. You won't forget that one. Hey, Lake Fork Bass had a big tournament, one of the second largest of the year. Skeeter Boat Owners Tournament was held this weekend. 2,200 anglers fished a 2-day tournament for hourly prizes and to win a new Skeeter boat. Tim Wilcoxon won the event with a second cast of the morning. 9.65-pound bass. He had to wait out for 2 days to find if he won, and he did. Big worms and jigs caught most of the big fish. Carolina rig being the best presentation. They had 28 fish over the slot, which is at 24 inches on fork weighed in, and that's a record also. So, as expected, Old Fork continues to produce some very big bass this year. Here's a quick picture of Tim with his new winning bass. Had a brand spanking new Skeeter with a 200 motor on it, ready to go fishing.
All right, well, congratulations to him. Thank you so much, Johnny. Great report from the Upper Fresh region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at your hot spots. He says Lake Fork Channel catfish are biting good on cheese and cut bait. Oh, that sounds like we need to go do that cheese, man. Bait holes are producing easy limits. And then Lake Tawakoni.
Yep.
See? I know you always tell me how to say it, Brie.
You're good.
All species of striped bass are biting great. Slabs and small swim baits are working the best in 20 feet of water. I just need help with sometimes some of these words.
Yes, you do need help sometimes.
I need, that doesn't
All the time.
sound
All right,
like we're going the right direction with
Get ready
that.
for Captain Chad Kinney in the Garmin Lower Coast region, who has the offshore and inshore reports fit for the world's best dads. So Chad, let's hear what the weekend is bringing our fine fathers.
I tell you what, looking forward to it. Got a lot of guys coming down. There'll be some families. Your dads get to go out fishing with everybody. So we got some good inshore and offshore fishing going on. I got some good reports up. I've been calling all around, talking to some of my buddies and stuff like that. There's been some good schools of redfish finally showing up around Corpus Christi, and especially in Baffin Bay there along the King Ranch shoreline and stuff like that. When these calmer weather, we've had some kind of swirling winds, but real calm and stuff like that down there. It's kind of easier to see them. Look for big old wakes pushing. There's some really big schools out there. So you'll see them, pushing a ton of fish. And then if not, you'll see even some like a brown backs pushing up on the water, discoloration in water like that. You'll be able to see those. The schools, a lot of these fish are 30 to 36 inches. So they're oversized fish. They're not slot fish, but they're a lot of fun to catch. If you see these big schools like that, if you want to pitch a live bait, you'll hit that, no problem like that. You got croaker, pinfish, or anything else like that. Also, if you get your fish bites on there, get a 1/4 ounce jig head and pin that strip on like that and throw out there amongst them, and you can really do that. When you get in these big schools, you'll catch a couple or 2 or 3 like that, hook them up, fight them. They're big fish, but let them go through there. You'll probably break up the school. You have to get back around through there and kind of keep quiet and get down or power pull amongst them. They'll actually move around you sometimes and get good action there. Got a good picture here of one of those oversized reds there. Connor Reynolds with Reynolds Fishing Team has been on them pretty good up there in Baffin.
Nice.
Moving over to trout. Yes, it's solid, pretty fish. All that golden color. You see that gold color in there. So I'm saying you see that stuff up there, you'll see that whole deal moving. But then the trout fishing, it's really good. Got some decent reports and good reports on the surf side, actually. First time this year since the calmer weather, better winds, and you get that tide in there. That the surf side's been really good up in Port Aransas. Talked to Doug Stanford. He said he's been really hammering some good trout up in there. Live croaker with a chatterweight. Or if you get some heavier jig heads in that surf because of the currents and the depth there, get a 1/4 to 3/4 ounce with a saltwater assassin sea shad. That stuff works really good on that. When you're throwing those lures out there, make sure when you cast it out there, kind of let them sink down, bouncing around, jigging off the bottom, depends how the current's moving, and you'll get some really good thumps and pick them up that way. There's also been a lot of skipjack also kind of in the mix, so make sure you take plenty of terminal tackle and bait, of course. You're throwing your plastics and stuff or anything else, make sure you check your leaders. Those skipjack will jump and be a lot of fun or anything else, but they also chafe your line pretty good. So you got to replace it. You don't want to go catch a monster trout raptor and pop it off because you weren't paying attention to your terminal tackle. And when the conditions get bad on the surf side, which it might be a little windier this weekend, so you might want to move into the wellheads in Corpus Christi. They've been producing some really good numbers of trout on there. Also throwing some live bait, same thing. Some sea shads in there have been working good. So I got a picture here, some clients from Doug Stanford. Got some beautiful trout sitting there, some big trout.
Wow. Yeah, man, they look great. All right, what about the red snappers offshore? You guys had your seasons open now, so what's the report?
I tell you what, snapper fishing, of course, is always good down here in the low coast, but it's been really on fire on here. I'm going to give you a few pointers here. The closer spots here shallow, where I'm talking 40, 50, 60 foot up to 90, they've been covered up with snapper, but also the sharks have been moving in real thick. So when you get the sharks moving in, and if you're not targeting them, you want your snapper, you might as well go ahead and move. They'll run the snapper off, make them hide in their holes and stuff like that. So if this moves, kind of move to a deeper location and try that, and it'll really help you kind of move along. Also, we're getting really close. We're not in it yet, but we're getting really close to what I call the crab hatch, which you get small crustaceans, the crabs and everything else like that, and these snapper will just gorge on them, and they won't eat. No matter if you throw your best squid down or menhaden or anything else you got, they'll get a lot slower bite. So if you start seeing that, we're seeing in your Yeti cooler, you see them, you put 1 or 2 in there, and there's a bunch of crustaceans coming out. Might want to move out deeper, try to get away from that hatch, and then move in shallower when the hatch is over. Rule of thumb on this is once those crabs get to about 2 inches wide, they'll actually start going back and start eating on your jigs and eating everything else, but this will probably last 2-3 weeks. So if you go to your favorite spot and you think somebody fished it out, it didn't happen. It's just the crabs are there and they're feeding on that stuff. So moving over into the blue water, it's moving in. The pelagic action's really picked up here in the lower coast. The wahoo been holding pretty steady along the current changes and weed lines. Best thing to do is train yourself when you're running out there the whole time. Read the water. I mean, that's why you get your Coast sunglasses. I like using the 580 blues. It helps offshore. It works the best out there. If you're traveling long distances, which we do down here, look for your color change, your temperature changes on your Garmin will have right there. You'll have everything on there, your chirp and stuff, but read everything while you're out there. And once you see a little rip or weed line, put some baits out, put your mirror lures out, go try that 25-foot diver with a wire leader in purple and color, and also Islander purple and black, where it's straight ballyhoo rigged up on the wahoo. But if you see anything change at all, pop it, try it, go. If you see a big rip, sorghasm, go ahead and stay on that rip, work it really hard for a long time, and you'll have more action pick up on that stuff. We got a good picture here from the Wet and Wild, South Padre Island. Got a nice wahoo there.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Chad. A lot of great pictures this week, and as always, great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower coast hotspots from the Garmin Lower Coast region. Inshore, he says redfish have been good. Numbers in Baffin Bay, trout, and some reds have also been good in the surf at Port Aransas. And then offshore, snapper season is open in state and federal waters, and it has been on fire along the lower coast. Out deeper, and the pelagics are roaming with good numbers of wahoo and billfish, right, Brie?
Exactly. All right, I have a question.
Yes?
What do you give Dad for Father's Day for a dad that deserves a new truck and boat? I'm not sure. While that may be a little out of your price range, you can give Dad the chance to win one of 19 boats, 5 trucks, or 3 UTVs by signing him up for the CCA Texas Star Tournament. For more information and to register, go to startournament.org or your local academy. CCA, the leader in marine conservation and habitat restoration, and great Father's Day gifts.
Absolutely.
Hey.
And don't forget, guys, if you do sign him up, you might want to tell him just in case you catch one with a tag. You know how it works.
Yep. Got to do it, or else
Yes, sir.
You won't be able to cash in on that. All right, we've got one more region left to report on, and that's the Middle Coast region. But before we get our captain on the line, we're seeing what Dave has brought for new products at the CCA workbench. It's about to smell good in here.
I hope so. We're going to make some Southwest-style chicken with the O-meals, because if you can't afford a truck for Father's Day, you can get your dad something he can eat when he's out fishing.
Out of a bag.
Yeah, we're going to pour it.
Perfect.
Oh, if I can get it in the bag.
Dave's making dinner. We'll be right back.
I'm making dinner.
Can't wait to smell.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yeti, built for the wild. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program. And StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Oh, there it is.
You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Over 40 years ago, Mr. Proshek began smoking meat in a little Texas town called Hilgi, combining fresh, grade A ingredients to create a variety of legendary smoked meats. Today, Proshek Smokehouse is a Texas tradition. And now Proshek not only satisfies hunger in Texas, but across the country. Visit Proshek.com and order everything from fresh meats to your choice of jerky. Proshek meats are made by Proshek, sold by Proshek, and can be delivered in as little as a day. Proshek Smokehouse, a link above.
Dave?
That stuff's steaming. It's going to blow on you.
Dave, I feel like I'm near a volcano.
Yeah, it gets hot, man.
That mother.
It boils. Anyway, we'll get to those in a minute. First off, we're gonna let that cook. Anyway, first off, we're gonna start with our Bubba blade, and you know, Bubba Blade's been making some really nice knives here for a little while. This is their break blade. It's a big, big heavy blade. You could break backbones with it. I imagine that's why they call it the break and fillet knife, because you can break a backbone with it too. What sets Bubba blades apart from most of their competition is the really nice handles they have. They stay sticky even when they get wet. They have all the nice pads for your thumb, and so it guides the knife. It's a full tang knife. It goes, the blade goes all the way through the handle, and it's really sharp. Comes with a nice red CCA sheath and a Velcro closure, and the blade's about 8 inches long, so you can pretty much hack any big fish you catch with that thing. You won't be hacking it though, because it's got a really nice non-stick surface on it where it just slides right through the flesh. It doesn't stick. So get those at Academy, and every time you buy one of these from Academy, a little bit of the money goes to the CCA and helps us catch more fish. So get out there and get you a Bubba blade from Academy Sports.
That's right.
Next, we got some Bass Assassin. We got some new colors with the heavy punch crawl, which is the HPC. Those are the Coca-Cola Cowboy and the Gold Rush color.
Here's a Gold Rush with all the gold in the blue. And
these are made for
Coca-Cola Cowboy.
Yep, those are made for punching with a nice jig head on there. They've got a nice pyramid shape at the top to fit a contoured jig perfectly. They got these nice big claws on them that float up nice, but are still big enough to have a good silhouette, which if you're going to be using one of these is what you're doing. You're trying to get a big silhouette so you can get a big bass to eat. Yep. So go out there and get you some of those. Those are nice 4-inch baits, and they make a lot of noise. Next, we have some Engage baits from a band of anglers. This is called the Twit Shad. And these are 3.5 inches long. These are really pretty. We've got a green back there, and we got a mullet color and a pinfish, the glass minnow over there. They have a really nice fat body and a heavier tail, so they cast like a dream. Those, they all have treble hooks on them. They're really super sharp, super strong hooks. They come in 10 different colors.
Do you know the action, Dave? Is it
These are all floaters, but they're going to start making some suspenders as well. It twitches just like a regular hard twitch bait. A lot of the action is what you put on it.
Got it.
Really, really good. You get to choose. So, which is
I think I could
very
catch
versatile.
a lot of fish on these.
Yes,
I might need to make a phone call.
You can go online and buy them, but their web prices are a little higher. The band of anglers guys like to try to feed the little mom and pop stores and
dealers.
Get it. Yes, sir. All right. Next, we have the meals, the things that I was trying to cook before. These are for traveling. These are cook in the bag hot meals that you can take with you anywhere. All you do is add water to that. You open these things up, and it comes with a heating element, and you add about a half a bottle of water, and it will sit there and steam whatever you're cooking in there. They have like the Southwest style chili. They have vegetables with beef. They have they have breakfast. They have hash browns and all kinds of stuff that you can get in there. And they're very healthy meals. They're really high on protein, low on carbohydrates, made for guys who are going to be going out and getting away from it all for a little while, and you don't have to worry about carrying a stove with you if you want a hot meal. If you're out there wading or getting out there in the rain fishing, and all your buddies are pulling out a cold sandwich, and you break out the Southwest chili and some crackers, you're the king.
Well, I'm sure
so
you are.
Go to omeals.com. It only takes like 3 to 5 minutes to heat it up, and one of those heating elements will last for 20 minutes.
When we went to Alaska, one of the camera guys brought
that
him
thing
for
gets
himself.
hot, man.
And we fought, not over what was in the package,
Just to hold
but
it?
just to get our hands on the thing.
Yeah,
So-
it's if you want to put that in your tent, I reckon you could heat your tent with it if you get really bad.
All right, speaking of putting
I'd
stuff
be
in
really
your
worried
tent,
about
what would
the
you
heat
put
niche.
in your tent, Brie?
One of those because I'm
smell
not the
good.
best cook, but that looks pretty good. I'll do that after a long day of fishing and don't feel like cooking. All right, the Middle Coast region, early to bed and early to rise is the key to your weekend. So listen to Captain Bink Grimes to find out what you'll be hooked up to this Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, it's been an early bite for us. We have been getting up pretty early to get out there and get on the fish. Our temps have been reached in the hundreds here lately, and so it's just been really, really hot. But there's a lot of white shrimp, a lot of big shrimp on the beach right now, and those big trout are following those shrimp. Just about every trout we clean, just loaded with shrimp and loaded with pogies. The wind finally calmed this week. Our surf is flat. We're really excited about it. Early mornings have been the best as the winds have increased later in the day and made for a bumpy drift over shallow bars. We've headed to the jetties. We tucked behind the rock and caught solid trout on she-dogs and she-pups, and also the Mirror Little Johns. We're catching a lot of folks are catching them on live shrimp under mid-coast popping cork as well. Surfside and Freeport anglers, they found trout to 6 pounds in the surf on croakers and live shrimp. Same held true in Port O'Connor with EDG limits coming on top waters and croakers. Guy Lindfest said he's enjoyed a steady bite for trout to 24 inches on top waters and plastics in Port O. He's been working the back lakes on the hard incoming tide. And then all that tide coming through Pascavallo, he's working all those flats along the pass. East Matagorda Bay has been giving up some wonderful fish. Today, matter of fact, a young angler caught a fish that looked about 8.5 to 9 pounds. He thought he was in the Star Tournament, but he wasn't. And he would be leading the Middle Coast right now. It was kind of a sad deal. The fish was just beautiful. Not to be outdone is West Matagorda Bay, light winds. Man, we've been working Half Moon Reef. Those underwater rocks, man, they have just been holding lots and lots of trout. Then those flats along Pascavallo as well, and then up and around Tres Palacios Bay and Turtle Bay has been good. Waders have been finding those trout on the West Matagorda shoreline on she-pups and working those sand and grass humps there. We got about 8 to 12 inches of rain last week. Our rivers are kind of swollen. It's pushed a lot of the pogies and the shad and the shrimp out of the back lakes, and it's got birds working along the north shoreline of East Matagorda Bay, so it's kind of a treat. That usually doesn't happen but in October and November, but we've been kind of getting after them here lately. Photo there is a photo of one of my old professors from East Texas Baptist University. We went out and waded near a pass in Port O'Connor and did real well last week. We'll go inshore, light drum, tides, when they're up like they are right now with storms and low pressure in the Gulf. A lot of those drum are on any reef. It's a lot of drum been found at Shell Island, Twin Island, Oyster Lake, and Mad Island on live shrimp under a mid-coast court. We're rigging them about a foot long under a leader and sometimes 18 inches and in about 3 foot of water. Palacios area around Coon Island and the small reefs in Tres Palacios and Turtle Bay, they're holding black drum. The mid-bay reefs in East Matagorda Bay has been full of black drum as well. Reefs and Bastrop and Chocolate Bays are holding limits of trout as well. Key has just been working the points in the drop-off. Redfish, our tides have been switching early in the morning and barreling in through the day. That's made the grassy shorelines on the north end of West Matagorda Bay prime. Spots like Cutoff Flats and the Blue Hole have been good. Waders have tossed gold spoons along the grass and found reds in the morning. Then later in the afternoon when the tides are falling, they're posting up in the middle of those bows and waiting for the reds to come out. As always, there's plenty of reds to be found at the jetty right now. Lots of big white shrimp on the beach, so there's lots of redfish following those white shrimp right up in the first gut. They're gobbling up big old table shrimp, the 4 to 6 count shrimp.
and lots of big old bull reds just off the beach as well. Kingfish, I tell you, kingfish have been good. Watch all the Russell lures and stretch 30s. The same holds true. It's around Freeport, about 30 foot of water. Same in Port O'Connor. They're just off the beach. Our beach water temperature has been about 86 degrees, and they're just a few miles off the beach. Red snapper are doing the same. The weed lines are holding good dolphins and triple tails under floating trees and debris. A lot of shrimp, mullet, and squid have been taking good numbers of snapper and dorado and all the rest. I tell you, our seas are 1 to 2 foot right now, and everybody's excited. Looks like we're going to have another good weekend offshore.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Texas hotspots from the Middle Coast region. Trout are good around past Calavo while wading in sand and grass, and then black drum are good over the reefs in
Tres
Palacios. You're my interpreter, Bay, for the live shrimps.
I'll be your interpreter.
Yeah. Speaking of this,
This
Dave,
is good. It smells
is
really
this?
good, guys.
It's hot. That's our chili.
It's hot.
It's
hot
already
chili.
hot and done.
Okay, quick. What's everyone doing for Father's Day?
Southwest style chicken.
Give me some of this.
It's good. You
Let me
can smell
see.
it.
Thanks for cooking, Dave.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'll do that easy. All you gotta do is put.
Father's Day,
that's so
we're going to
good.
be filming a Sportsman's Adventure episode. Yeah, man.
Very
We're going to
nice.
be doing some stuff up
Where you going?
We're going to go snooking.
Oh.
Do a big snook show. And then I think for Father's Day, I'm just going to take the contender out with Mama.
hot. Good for you.
Go out in the Gulf and fish
Here,
one of the
try some of this.
1,740 wrecks I got.
Well, you're going to be on the water.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day, guys. See you next